Okay. After show. All right. So
I had a few things. Yeah,
I did too. I still got more. You go ahead.
Okay. Well, Joe Biden giving a speech at Tulsa, Oklahoma, the 100th anniversary of the massacre that happened over there. So Tulsa, Oklahoma was known as the Black Wall Street at one time. A lot of people don't realize that, but back in 1921, there was a very prominent Black population in Tulsa, Oklahoma that had really figured out business and were doing very well. They were very forward-thinking professionals.
I just heard about this. I read about it or something just several days ago. Where did you?
Well, it was the 100th anniversary of it just the other day. It's quite a thing, and this was like I said, Black Wall Street. And what happened was there was a crazy event happened there where a massacre of many of the Black leaders in that town were killed over a 2-day period of time, and it's a terrible thing. Well, Joe Biden was there this week to commemorate that whole thing, but in the speech he talked about Black people, and he said that Black people had just as good ideas as white people did. Yeah. And the problem was they just don't have lawyers, they don't have accountants, they don't have access to them because they don't have money, and they don't. But under my administration, they're going to get the loans to get that. And I found that to be extremely condescending.
I was going to say the same word.
And yes. First off, my grandfather was a federal district attorney. But the problem is that you're standing in the place where this massacre happened 100 years ago, and it was Black Wall Street. Now, in order to have Black Wall Street, you got to have Black accountants and you got to have Black lawyers. And so if we could have Black accountants and Black lawyers 100 years ago during some pretty bad, like racism back then compared to now, no comparison.
Oh, to say the least. It's coming back though.
Well, if they have it their way, it seems like that's what they want. But I mean, this whole, in that same speech, Joe Biden said that the greatest threat to America today is not ISIS and it's not Al-Qaeda, it's white supremacy. And okay, so here he is again, Tulsa, Oklahoma, commemorating this. So it sounds like he's speaking to Black people here. Okay, ISIS has been debunked. I mean, they're done. They're not even a group. Al-Qaeda, what are they doing? Have you heard of Al-Qaeda at all? But the greater threat is white supremacy. I don't get it. I don't get where he's coming from on this. What do you name
his strings?
So white supremacists are terrorists like Al-Qaeda. I mean, we saw what ISIS was doing. They were lining people up and sawing people's heads off on video. Yeah. And so white supremacy here in the United States is worse than that. I mean, that's a big lie right there that you're telling to people. And what is that going to do? Like, if you're a Black person and you're hearing that, how is that going to make you an emboldened citizen, a patriot of the country? I mean, you're just going to be like mad at the country and angry. And I just think it's a terrible thing to do to a people.
This is the result. This is the latest headline from the Daily Mail. Floyd Square riot. Their ads are just so annoying. But picture an armed Black man, 32, with long rap sheet, including 20 arrests, who was wanted for violating probation for aggravated robbery before he was shot dead by Minneapolis cops, sparking a night of protest at dismantled George Floyd Square. So, this is just it. So if you prosecute, shoot, or in any way, this is a guy with a rap sheet, including 20 arrests, violating probation. I'm sure he was resisting arrest. And here we are again, burning down the town And this, so what you're talking about, that's what you get, Merle.
That is what you get. I mean, and here's the thing is that these are the same people running the government that are letting people out of jails right now. They're emptying out the jails of violent criminals. They're on the streets right now. And our president has the nerve to say that our biggest threat is white supremacy. All year we have seen riots happening in Portland, all across in Chicago and New York, all the major cities. I mean, I really didn't see anybody carrying around any KKK anything or burning any crosses. They all seem to be associated with either Antifa or Black Lives Matter.
Right.
And so to say that's what's happening is quite a thing, and I think it makes things a lot more dangerous when you take a look at it. So this is what I wanted to go to, Barry, in the last hour was these statistics that are out today that are talking about the crime here in the in Los Angeles. So our district attorney has actually let all of these criminals out of jail. They're roaming the streets now. Wow. The rapists, murderers, child abusers, meth heads, all of them back out on the street. And surprise, between last year and this year, our homicides have gone up 95%. 95, wow. Double. Okay, last year it was up 30%, and now this year already it was huge last year. Now that's up almost double. Grand theft auto up 40%, rape up almost 8%, aggravated assault up 13%, arson up 22%. This is what happens when you run.
I'm sorry, you're not going to catch that on mainstream media. That's why this continues, and that's right back to what we're saying.
That's the crime.
And thank God that mainstream media, the ratings continue to plummet. And seriously,
I think that's fun.
I get most of my news. Well, like I always say, I look at Google News and I scan all these different areas. Yeah, but boy, podcasts with credible people. When something happens worldwide, like a coronavirus, I'm not getting my news from MSNBC or even Fox. I'm getting it directly from biologists and off of podcasts where people are talking amongst their peers and then giving you the information, not being filtered through some reporter who has written talking points. Right. Reporters can't even do their own job anymore.
Oh, I know. They have to do what they're told to do now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and we're seeing, you brought that up several episodes ago about, and I think it was those two that you like to watch that were saying
Crystal and Sagert. Yeah.
Yeah, what were they saying that
they both, okay, she's from MSNBC. He was an occasional commentator on Fox, okay, right and left. And they both said that they would be issued their talking points at the beginning of every day, just like everyone else. And if you stick there, you're told, it is well known, if you stick to the script, you will have a fine career. Because even when you're wrong, they'll have your back. But if you want to go rogue on your own, it's not going to work out. That's why they went out on their own. And I love that show. It's called Rising. It's on The Hill, and it's Crystal Ball and Sagert Emmerich. I think that's his last name. But I subscribe to that, and I watch them all the time, and they expose a lot. They are the investigative reporters that you always had as a little kid.
Yeah. They do their homework. 60 Minutes, the way they used to do it. That's pretty fun.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, so speaking of the ratings falling off, CNN, it says here that the ratings crash. CNN falls out of cable's top 5 networks in prime time.
Wow.
That's pretty amazing. And it just goes back to the fact that people, once they realize they're being lied to, just like I talked about the doctor, once you realize that you're not getting the truth anymore, you're not going to watch. And these guys are the worst. I just, they have an agenda, a big agenda. But you're right, it's not just CNN. Fox News is in it as well. They're all in. They're all in, and it's a disgusting thing. Although Fox News did top out the prime time, but what we're seeing now,
they're really not as bad. Although the only thing I really watch is the 5. Because it's more balanced. Juan Williams retired.
He's retiring. I was bummed out to hear that he was retiring. A lot of people would say, God, I'm so glad he's leaving, but not me. I think first off, I think he had a pretty tough job to come in there every day and hold that line against 4 other people.
He clearly, though, had his talking points.
He did.
I swear to God, I said this all the time, is I don't believe that he believed half of what he was saying, but that was his job.
I wonder, like I've always said, he's the guy I would love to, if he lived in the neighborhood, I'd definitely be talking to him at the mailbox, like sure. He seems like a real good guy, and a guy that, just like you and I, we have our differences, but we can debate those differences, and at the end we're laughing. By the way, I got some really great feedback on the show from our friend Megan, that's been a fan this whole time, and she talked about the fact that how we can kind of banter back and forth with different opinions and just going at it, and then a few seconds later we're laughing.
I know.
That's like a great thing that we have going on here, and people love that, Barry.
If we didn't disagree, our conversations would be so boring. I mean,
they would be.
I mean, even our private conversations.
Yes. They're pretty much the same.
It is the same. That's the fun of it.
It is. Hey, so Barry, here we are, second month in a row. The jobs report came out this morning, and it was a big miss. Big miss. We job misses estimates with 559 jobs, but they were looking at getting about double that. That's what the estimate was. And the unemployment rates, they went to 5.8%. So more people unemployed. They're saying that it's at the lowest level. Unemployment is at the highest level. Sorry, not the lowest level, the highest level since the pandemic started.
I'll comment on that in a second. You see my bike?
No, I was looking at my notes. As Joe Biden is at this very moment addressing this problem, as you remember, oh my God, that's beautiful. Hold on a second. Remember, this problem started last month as well, this trend where we ended up with, we're supposed to get 1 million jobs. We got 250,000 jobs. Unemployment went up again. So 2 months in a row. And I just have to say, you look at these policies and there's a net outcome to the policies. And
it's obvious.
This is it.
It's obvious.
Yeah, well, is it? I hope it is, because it seems like, I mean, I have people that think everything's going hunky-dory right now, but all of the indicators of hunky-dory aren't there. So I don't get it. But
remember, last week we talked about 23 states now have rejected Joe Biden's $300 additional, what do you call it, unemployment benefit?
Yeah. Yep.
So,
exactly.
I mean,
it's keeping people out of work. Yep.
Of course it is. We all know that. You go to restaurants and they have help wanted signs everywhere, and complain that they can't bring anybody back. My dentist having a hard time finding a hygienist because they make so much money sitting at home.
Crazy. Mm-hmm. That is crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Here's another one. We had a cyber attack this week at the largest
food
beef distributor. It was specifically it's beef. And I've been talking about my concern on several episodes. We've talked about this, my concern about the attack on red meat. It seems to me that there's a lot of indicators are that red meat is under attack right now. And the first one that scared me was Bill Gates when he came out and talked about the fact that it's not sustainable. We need to eliminate red meat. We need to jack up the prices of red meat so people can't afford it, and therefore they'll go for this synthetic red meat, which doesn't taste exactly like red meat, but they'll get used to it. And I was like, dude, I think I burnt my. I love cheeseburgers. Okay. Like, I know I can't eat a cheeseburger every day or I'll blow up like a blimp, but I gotta have it. I gotta have it at least once a week. Otherwise I will be a raving mad person. I'll bite you. Okay. Don't take my meat
What's
away.
your
I will.
favorite
I, that
cheeseburger?
will.
Is it
Uh, uh,
Denny's?
mm, no, it's not. Unfortunately, Denny's doesn't make a great cheeseburger.
Oh,
That's their only. That's their only. It's not a bad cheeseburger. It's just not a great cheeseburger. There's a place down the street called The Habit. I think it's local here
mm,
in California that I love. I love those burgers. I'm in the habit of having that burger. It's funny. I got two burger places here. One's called The Habit, and the other one's called Hook Burger. So, I mean, you're hooked on this burger. You got a habit on that burger. I mean, there's probably some kind of thing they're violating with their not so subliminal messages there, but
uh-huh,
I love those.
uh-huh.
Those are great burgers. So, and there's this Hook Burger. You can eat outside on their little porch, and they serve IPAs there as
Oh,
well. So you
nice.
just sit out there and have a burger and a
Doesn't go with a
beer.
burger that well,
All
though.
right, the one I had went pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was delicious. It just the other day, and you know how now that it's still for me a treat to just be able to go out to eat. That's
Yeah.
after the draconian closures and
Yeah.
everything. Just so nice to be able to do that. And oh, you were showing your bike, by the way, beautiful.
Oh,
Um,
thanks.
this past Memorial Day, Anne Marie and I went on a bike ride, and we stopped at this little pizza place and had pizza and had a couple beers.
Nice.
It was so nice to be able to do that, and it's just so fun.
Yeah.
Biking, getting lunch, and having a beer,
Yeah.
and then coming back. I have to say that it was a little hot, and coming back after having those couple of beers, we had to stop a few times.
Really?
I'm so tired.
I like getting that little buzz and then going, and probably I'm going to do that this afternoon.
I like
is
it too. It's fun.
Go to East 55th Street Marina, probably
Yeah.
meet Irby there, have a few beers, and they have great food. But I love the ride back, and it's
I
like
do
all
too.
uphill, you know.
Yeah, this is how it was for us too. It was all uphill. Not like
It's
your hill
fun.
though,
Yeah, it's
because you got that big hill.
Oh, you don't have. I would think that you guys would have a
Not where we
monstrous-
rode. No, not
Okay.
where we rode. It was like an incline all the way back home, but it wasn't like
That's
that.
fun.
Big,
I
Murray
mean, at
Hill.
least, when you get a really nice bike, it's like you need to do a hill or so because otherwise you're not going to get any exercise whatsoever.
Hills are where
ride
it's at,
themselves.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah. My whole thing is you pedal the hill, and the payoff is that downhill part, man. Like it's so
Oh, yeah.
worth it to pedal up a
Yeah.
giant hill so that you can go like 90 on the way
Yeah.
down. I was just talking about the MS 150 ride that I did twice in Colorado.
Yeah.
Where we rode up to Estes Park, which is, so you leave Boulder and you go up to Estes Park, it's 5,000 feet. So it takes you like all day to get up there. But then coming back, it's like a marathon of coming down these huge mountains. I got
Oh,
my
God.
bike, my mountain bike, I rode one time. I got that up to 49.9 miles per hour coming down
That's
that
scary.
hill.
Well, thank God it was,
scary.
but thank God it's a mountain bike because you have less chance that you
Yeah.
hit that little,
Right.
a little sand patch or something and your wheel goes out from underneath.
People were surprised that I took my mountain bike on that ride because they all
remember.
had road bikes. But the next time I rode it on a road bike, and that was a lot scarier going down with those little,
Yes.
like you're saying, those little
Yes.
tires. I mean, it just one little pebble, and you're going to be. What they won't even be able to recognize you.
Yeah, no,
You
for
will.
sure.
You'll be road rash.
Yeah, for sure. The first thing I did with my new bike is I immediately went down to Little Italy. I went down
Yeah.
the hill into
The
Little
big
Italy.
hill, yeah.
It was fun,
I
but
bet.
because I then go down Random, the road Random, that then leads to Edge Hill, the other side of Little Italy, to go up back into the heights.
Right.
Because
right.
that's the safest. There's a lot of ways to get into the heights. That's my favorite way because it feels the safest and it's well
Right.
paved.
Yeah.
But I wanted to see, compared to my Jameis, how I know that hill. I take that hill all the time.
Yeah. How was it?
It was nice, man.
I can tell by the look on your face. It's like you need a cigarette.
That's
Let's see
another-
that bike again. Throw that up there, man.
Yeah.
That was That's a
It's
thing of beauty
beautiful
right
bike.
there. And this was they had to order this, right? Because it's for your size, right?
No, this is just pure coincidence because
Oh,
the entire store was filled. It's a big store with
yeah.
only electric bikes. They had an order. He's like showing me on his clipboard. We just got all these Cirruses in. They're all gone. We just got all of these other ones in. They're gone. He says, wait a minute. Except because I was looking for a Cirrus 2. He goes, except for this extra large Cirrus 3. The only hybrid
Extra
in the whole
large.
store
Nice.
was exactly what I wanted. And well, it's a higher end than I actually was looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but at the end of the day, I'm never going to regret that.
Well, it's a beautiful bike. I like the
isn't it?
colors. Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely am enthralled with it. I still love my Jameis too, though. I'm just glad I got a backup bike finally.
It's
You know?
nice having two bikes. You know,
Yeah.
it's funny when you open up my garage, people always laugh because it's like wheels. It's just wheels everywhere, man. I got two motorcycles. I've got bicycles hanging on the side of the. I got three here, two here. I got another one over there, and then I got my car in there. And I mean, I can't get enough of this. Anne Marie's got two bikes, you know, and you can't just have one bike. You need a fleet of bikes.
I would like to have a mountain bike too, but to tell you the truth, I would rarely ride a mountain bike.
Yeah.
A hybrid is absolutely for me. I love these bikes.
Hybrids are great.
I got to figure out, our garage is so tight. I have to figure out how to suspend it on the cinder block wall. Okay. Brick wall. So I need to get some stuff that I need to drill into the brick and suspend it, because my other bike, my Jameis, is always hung from, how do I explain it, and why do I feel the need to explain it? But it hangs from a wooden rafter kind of above both of our cars.
I gotcha.
Yeah, so I got to figure out a whole new way to hang my new bike.
Yeah, you know, once you get that done and you got that efficiency going, it's pretty cool, actually.
Well, it's really nice if you can, because I can put it in the meantime. I could put one of my bikes in the basement, in the house, in the basement. What a drag trying
taking
to get
it out of there. Yep.
Up and down those stairs, and not hitting anything. Oh, what a drag. No, you're right. When I get this all figured out and I can easily grab whichever bike I want. It's like, by the way, the Little Italy Feast is back on this year.
Ooh, nice. Okay.
Oh, isn't it? So I'll be riding my Jameis down there, because I lock it up because it's the less valuable one now.
Yes.
So I gotta lock it up, and I always worry about it every year. It's like I come back from eating food and drinking a couple beers, like, whew, my bike's there. It's locked. I lock it up to.
Have you ever had your bicycle stolen?
No.
Have you ever had a bike stolen? No. I've had. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. I've had 4 bicycles stolen from one right out of my hands.
What?
But one of my first bicycles got stolen right out of my hands. This is the worst thing. I got it for my birthday. By the way, my birthday is on Monday, so I'll be 55.
Congratulations. It's in my calendar.
I'm in the crowd. Yeah. So here it is, so my birthday, summertime, the kickoff of every summer, and my parents would sometimes get me a bicycle for my birthday.
Oh,
and that was like the greatest gift ever. That's part of my love of bicycles, is it just reminds me of summertime and my birthday. I love the smell of a new bike and everything.
Oh, yeah.
This is amazing, So I get this bike from Sears. It's a beautiful brand new bike, and I
How
write
old
it down.
are you here?
I'm probably, let's see. So I couldn't have been more than 7. So I think I was 7 years old. I think it was my 7th birthday, actually. And I rode down to the corner, and there's a park over there, Cumberland Park. That's exactly where I was, right down the street from your house.
Sure.
And there was a kid there. I'd never seen him before, but he was older than me. And he says, "Hey, that's a nice bike you got there." And I felt so good, like, yeah, it is a nice bike. He goes, let's see, you know, and he was looking at it and everything, and he was complimenting me and all. And then he asked me if he could ride it.
Is he like 10 or 11?
Yeah. He was several years older than me.
Cumberland Park is a great place to get a bike stolen.
Yeah, and I said I didn't think my mom would like that, and he begged me, and he said he was only ride it down to the fire hydrant, and I finally capitulated, and he got on the bike and he rode down to the fire hydrant and he kept on going.
Yeah,
and I thought maybe he didn't see that fire hydrant. He must have been talking about the next fire hydrant. And he went down to that fire hydrant and he kept going. And I thought that's weird. Maybe he's going on, but by the time he passed the third fire hydrant, it dawned on me what had just happened. Like, I was so young that just
of course
you wouldn't think something like
that
would happen. You
immediately start crying at that.
I did. I started crying like, I was just I can still feel that feeling inside of my.
I wonder if that dude's in prison today.
I hope so. But anyway, I didn't. Man, I don't hope. Well, I hope that he got in trouble for that at least. I just remember going home feeling like my parents were going to be mad at me.
Sure.
Because this brand new bike they bought for me, I just let some kid take it.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember having to tell my parents. I was so humiliated, and my parents were so like they were angry at this person, and they weren't mad at me or anything like that.
That's good.
Okay. So I had that, and then I had another one stolen right out of my garage in Cleveland Heights.
Our neighbor across the street did. Yeah.
Yeah, I woke up the next morning. I looked in the garage; it was gone. And then when as an adult, I had 3 bicycles stolen right out of my garage when I was at work. Tracy opened up the garage door for something and went back inside. And I remember when I came home, the garage door was open, and I noticed immediately, "Where's my bike?"
Yeah.
And then, but I had 2 other bikes that were there that were stolen, and I saw the bicycle tracks in my front yard cutting catty corner through. They rode through my front yard to get out of there. And man, I remember, Barry, I was messed up from that. Like and it was my mountain bike, my first mountain bike. I'd been everywhere with that bike, loved that bike, and I hunted for that bicycle. I didn't care about the other 2. I hunted for that bicycle every day after work, never found it.
The thing is that there's so little that would be done to these people if they're caught. First of all, like if you beat the hell out of them, you probably
You're going to jail.
Right. If you shot them, you're going to jail.
It's a no-win situation if you find them.
If you took a picture of them and they found them and you press charges, what are they going to get? Maybe probation? You know?
Maybe.
Yeah, it's a no-win.
It'll cost you way more than your bicycle's worth to even go after that. It's pretty crazy. I remember
you have to protect yourself is the point.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Don't let it happen. Yeah.
I had my iPad stolen from me one time. Actually, it wasn't stolen. Let's put it this way. I left it someplace and then somebody lifted it. And so it was all my fault. But anyway, I ended up getting a call one day from this guy. "Hey, you Merle Garrison?" "Yeah, I got your iPad over here." I'm like, "What? You got my iPad? How'd you get that?" "Well, I found it over here." No, he told me someone sold it to him. And I had one of those things where if lost, call this number. And so he calls me up and he says, he told me he bought it for $75, and it doesn't work. And he wanted my passcode so it could work again.
What?
And I'm like,
you gotta be kidding me.
That's what I said. Are you want me to give? No, I want you to tell me where you are so I can come and pick that up because it's mine. "No, it ain't. It's mine. I bought it." And then apparently he could access my pictures. So he starts telling me, "I see you got some kids there that look pretty good, don't you? I'll tell you what. You want to get this back? I'll sell it to you for $100. You know, it was like this you're gonna extort money out of me. So I went to the police because I have the Find My iPad on my phone. So I knew exactly where this guy was. I had his address and everything. I actually rode my bicycle
you didn't tell him that though, right?
No. I didn't tell him this, but I knew exactly where he was, and it was right on this little bike route that I would go on. So before I went to the police, I actually was riding past the house coincidentally. Yeah, and I see the house was all run down and everything. It looked terrible, and I remember deciding that that guy had a lot less to lose than I did, so don't mess with that. So I just went to the police.
Yes.
And they were like, well, there's nothing we can do.
You got to be
It's
kidding me.
That's what I said. And they said, well, we didn't see it being stolen, so there's really, there's nothing we can do about that. And I'm like, but and
you could prove it's yours, though.
Yeah, I could prove it was mine, but still, there's very little they can do about this. So what they ended up doing was they because I had the guy's number, the officer called the person. Of course, he didn't answer the phone, but the officer left a pretty threatening voicemail for the person.
Wow.
But that then after it was a woman, and after she got off the phone, she was like, well, I did my best. And I'm like, well, that's about as much as I could ask, but I never saw my iPad after that, and nothing ever happened. So that was the end of that. But that's it. Like you said, you got to just protect your stuff, because the law is pretty lax. If they don't see it happen, then there's not a lot you can do.
Yeah, that's so disappointing. And that's why we have so much petty crime, too. Did you see, who was that? Some actress she was in that show, Sex and the City. She's in New York telling.
Cynthia Nixon.
Yeah, I guess. I never watched the show, but she's telling.
The one that ran for governor in New York.
Yeah, that we shouldn't have shoplifting laws or prosecute them. That is, and even her picture is, yeah, you do look that dumb.
Sorry.
Can you imagine being a store owner, and you're making $40,000 a year or whatever, working your ass off in that little store, and you're getting robbed like every day, and she wants to make it 10 times worse.
Well, and she wanted to be the governor of New York, and that's her ideology, is that shoplifting, we should let people, in this time, we shouldn't, this is what she said, we shouldn't put things behind glass cases when in this time of shortages, so that people can't steal it. They need this stuff. And it's like,
people in New York would vote for her, though.
Well, they didn't. They voted for Cuomo, so I don't know which is worse.
Yeah,
but anyway,
right.
I mean, Barry, when you really look at that whole thing that she's saying, the store owner, they purchase that inventory. They own that inventory, so that becomes their property.
Right.
So as a governor, what you're saying is that property rights there's no property rights. So what's to stop somebody from coming into your house and taking some stuff that they need?
It's the same thing with rental property. And through all of this COVID stuff, it's like, well, they don't have to pay rent for all this time. Well, what about the person that owns that property? You're assuming they're rich. And and
that's ridiculous.
They're assuming these store owners are rich. And
that's right.
This is frivolous, or it's a tax write-off. It's kind of like in the Seinfeld episode where Kramer was just like, "Oh, just write it off, Jerry. Write it off." You don't
That's
know
what they do. They write it off.
You don't know what a tax write-off is, do you? No,
but neither do you. But that's what they do.
Yeah, it's amazing.
This kind of goes back to what you were saying about the Jordan interview with the woman Peterson with the woman from North Korea, and how you don't have property rights. You can't own anything, and this is it. This is it. And the enemies were the people that own something. And you were talking about that as North Korea, but in every communist country, in Russia, that's the same thing happened. They had a word for the landowners. I can't remember what it is now, but it was sort of like the same as deplorables. It was that same kind of word. And so they purged those people. And purge is a real nice word for murder. So they murdered the landowners, and they took their land. This is the kind of thing that we're not there, but that's the kind of the philosophy that these people are embracing.
That's from the Marxist philosophy, because then they gave it to the commoners. They gave those farms to the commoners, forced them to farm. They were not good at it. And they starved to death. And they starved them. They're growing the food and have to turn it all over and starve. And cannibalism became a thing. again too.
Yes,
It's just
yeah.
horrible.
It happens in every communist country, Barry.
Yes,
Every
yes,
single one. It happened in Russia. It
yes,
happened in China. It happened in Cuba. It's happening
yes.
in Venezuela right now.
Yeah.
We look at this and say, well, how can so many people here in our country be fooled by that ideology?
Same way
Doesn't
they
make
get
sense.
the same way they get fooled every time, though. They infiltrate the school systems, start telling people about the inequalities and how we're going to fix everything and make it equitable for everyone. And that's where it
Equitable.
starts. Equitable.
It's a
not-
red flag.
yes,
When you
it
hear
is.
instead of equality, you hear
Mhm.
equity. That's a red flag right there.
Yeah.
You don't want equity. You want equality.
That's a fact.
Equal opportunity, not equal outcomes. Equal
Correct.
outcomes is rigged, and
Right.
you will never win that at all. Hey, I know we got to wrap up pretty soon.
Equal outcomes means someone's getting oppressed. You know,
That's exactly right. Every
Mhm.
single time, and it's
Yes.
usually you.
right.
You got to
sorry,
be
what-
in this special elite class here. I just wanted to wrap up by saying I've been reading Josh Hawley's new book.
You mentioned him last week, I think. Oh,
and-
I think Jordan Peterson mentioned him. But go
Boy,
ahead.
I got a highly I'm about 30% into this book.
Yeah.
What an educational book on our history when it comes to corporate America and why our stood against monopolies and even corporations in general, and then how our country changed right around the Wilson administration in the 19 teens. We've talked about this, you and I, before, Barry, about how the income tax, the IRS was invented at that time. Also the changes to the Senate and how the Senate was elected. And this book, Josh Hawley elaborates even more on how this whole mentality, this hierarchical mentality of labor at the bottom and the elites at the top is actually setting up an aristocracy here in this country where these very few determine everything that happens in your life. And boy, are we ever seeing that today. The Jeff Bezos, the owner of Washington Post and Amazon, is going to buy Universal Studios.
Is that right?
That's out there. Yeah. So, I mean, imagine the type of power of influence that one person would have with now you've got this whole movie kind of thing that you can beam your ideology in. I mean, this is the kind of thing that's happening right now. And it's it's mind-blowing, actually.
Well, what's interesting about that philosophically is, what do you do? Like, of course we have monopoly laws for a very good reason, even though we're not exercising them with a Google or a Facebook. But with a Jeff Bezos, now Amazon, same thing. Like Amazon, I think we mentioned before, to me is like the best and worst thing in the world all at the same time, because they revolutionized the buying experience. I purchase everything on Amazon. We get packages delivered, at least one package every day from Amazon. And I love them. It's a fantastic shopping experience. Even
I understand.
But they are too powerful. They own too much.
Well, that's the problem, right?
But they
It's
own
not
so
that
many
they-
different things. I mean, Bezos, this is my question. So Bezos is buying up so much. He's got so much power, but you can't break him up as a monopoly because he just owns a bunch of different big things.
Yeah. And so the problem isn't so yes, they have a run on the market. They can determine whatever price they want because they've eliminated the competition. That's the scary thing that they could do. But what's really more scary is that with these billionaires and their influence, they're able to basically govern. What they've done and what Josh Hawley is showing is how the corporatists and the government have merged together. And when you put those two things together, they then run everything.
Well, they
and
do
how
via
that's a setup,
lobbyists.
and how that's a setup for big tech, and how big tech has
Sure.
pretty much taken over and is dictating our future. It's dictating how our lives are going to run. You're right. With lobbyists, with their money, they're able to do that. But that's exactly what our founders were trying to prohibit from happening.
I know.
So when Teddy Roosevelt came around at the turn of the century, his huge thing was being a trust buster, and that's what he set out to do, was to break up these large monopolies. He failed. That's what Howley is showing, is how he failed. And it's a very interesting read, and you can see how these people have the power now, but he's going to go into how to correct the problem. That's really the thesis of the book. Yeah, I can't either.
How far along are you in that book?
I'm about 25% into the book right now, maybe 30%, but it's one of those reads where every page has something that you want to ponder and think through, because and he's a great writer too. And I'm just very pleased that we have somebody like that in our government. You know, he was the attorney general in Missouri who took Facebook and Google to task on antitrust violations, and which they're clearly violating our antitrust laws.
Oh, yeah.
And then he took that into the Senate when he was elected in 2019 and introduced a bill to limit these companies. We'll see how that goes, but more to come on that.
Okay, that's really interesting. I can't wait to hear the second half of that. I really can't wait. You made me think of something rather trivial, but speaking of other great minds, Trey Gowdy is getting a show on Fox.
Oh, he is.
He just announced it the other day on the 5, which I don't watch the 5 much anymore, but just, I don't know, the arguing and stuff like that, it's kind of gotten to me. But he was on there and he announced that, and he's like, nobody's more surprised than me. He goes, I can't believe they asked. And
I'm not surprised at all.
I guess great. I certainly agree with you. And he said that he's going to have some really important guests on, and we're going to listen to them. I forget how he said it, but instead of him doing all the talking, he's going to interview guests and he's going to listen to them.
It's going to be good. He's great at extracting information, and he's got a talent.
I hope that it doesn't get censored the way the 5 kind of is on YouTube. I pretty much watch the 5 via YouTube, but it seems like the show gets pirated by different people all the time, and it gets either censored, or you could say that maybe Fox doesn't want it distributed off their channel. You know, that could be.
I could see that.
I hope that Trey Gowdy's show is on YouTube, because I'd like to catch it.
Yeah. I'm sure you would. And I'm looking forward to that. I didn't know. Do you know what the time slot is he's in?
Yes, I do. I can't believe I remember this. Sundays at 7:00. And he said,
okay.
He said, I think this is a perfect way to wind up the week and
nice.
Put it all together. Yeah, I think it's a great time slot, really.
I think so too. There's and Mark Levin. I like Mark Levin, comes on Sunday night too, and it's always good. So you add Trey Gowdy to that, and I think conservatives are going to be happy on Sunday night.
Yeah, that does sound like it. Yeah. All right. Anything else?
That's it.
Take a quick look at my notes, because I had a bunch of stuff, and I was very interested about that nuclear fusion reactor in China.
Boy, that was some crazy news right there. And every day I hear something more horrifying about China. Yes. Hey, can I just read this one thing? This guy's talking about how China has still not been able to find the ground zero bat that gave us the thing. And he's saying
like OJ looking for the killer out on the golf course.
That's right. That's a good analogy. He says this: China just landed and deployed a rover on Mars. They're the first country to land a probe on the far side of the moon. They're building their own space station, their own separate satellite navigation system. They're building secret nuclear reactors that generate more weapons-grade plutonium. They just broke the record for manned exploration of the Mariana Trench at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. And they claim they've developed a new way to build the most advanced quantum computers on Earth. The same government, with all its awesome resources, unsurpassed manpower and unlimited authoritarian powers, can't find a single infected bat or other small mammal. I think that's interesting. Hey, one thing, did you know that the first SARS back in 2003 actually had escaped from the Wuhan lab, and that's how SARS first came to be?
What's your source material on that?
I don't have it in front of me, but I can get that to you. But that's actually something that has been known for quite some time. That's not been in the news. Yeah. And does that surprise you that was not in the news? Because after hearing everything I've heard, especially over the last week, it doesn't surprise me at all.
Well, it's just all the experts that I listen to on podcasts and stuff. I would think that they would know that.
You know, that's the funny thing, right? Is that we've been hearing experts for a long time, and the stuff that's coming out today, you would have thought that the experts would have known that.
Well, I'm just not so sure about that. It's why I asked about the source on it, because if these other experts don't know it, then I'm just not going to buy into it.
I don't think I've ever heard any story of how the first one got out. Have you?
Are you talking about SARS or are you talking about
COVID? SARS 1.
I don't know. SARS. I don't know anything.
2003 is when it actually hit, and what they're saying is that it escaped the Wuhan lab, and that's a known story. I don't know. I didn't actually capture the source on that one, but that is what I've heard in the news. And I don't know if I could pull something up on that real quick while we're still on here.
Yeah, I gotta go.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll save that for next week, and we'll look at that. But I think that's some pretty interesting information that I feel like we're just not being told a lot of information.
I agree with you, but the more information we talk about, the more terrified I get of China.
Yeah, I think it's a worthy thing to be very, very concerned about.
When I look at how they incentivize,
be very serious about that.
They incentivize their people with a degree of capitalism, and now are rocketing ahead at warp speed, and we're dumbing down our people substantially. It's terrifying.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, that last list of things that they're doing, it's just like, holy cow. And I read that this morning, and then you showed me their
that reactor,
the sun that they built.
Yeah, it's sustainable, renewable energy, clean energy.
Yeah, it sounds real good until they use it as a weapon.
Until it blows up.
Yeah, exactly. One or the other.
Blow themselves off the map. Maybe that would be a good thing.
Think about all those innocent people there. These people are being they're being enslaved by their own government. This is really what's happened here. Those are the people like 2 billion like to disappear.
Yeah, 2 billion people or so.
They've got a quarter of the world's population in their country. That's a pretty significant thing right there. But those people are enslaved, and the other developing nations that you talked about, they're enslaving those nations as well. That's what they do.
True. It's true. They want to take
they're
over
trying
the
to
world.
do it to us. They're doing it. They're doing it right now to us. And the woman that was in that interview that you talked about, she's telling the truth, boy. She's telling the truth.
No, that's what I liked about it is, like I said, she comes in like a blank slate. So yeah, I'm going to leave that in the show notes. That's one hell of a podcast that everybody, if you have an opportunity, check it out.
Thanks for bringing it to our attention, Barry. That's important stuff, and not enough people understand what we're up against here when it comes to communist nations. So I really appreciate you.
The horrors that are going on in our educational system with
it's terrible
wokeism and postmodern mentality.
And even the word woke is such an oxymoron, right? I mean, no, you're really asleep.
No, it's very true. And she, Yenmi, always referred to it in the podcast as the PC culture. And that's fine. It's a mild way to put it, because I frankly, I can't stand that term woke, but woke to me does represent the more far left aspect of the PC culture.
Yeah.
It's one thing to try to be polite.
I don't like the politically correct culture. I think people, I agree with what you're saying, because it seems like woke takes it to a much different degree, but the PC culture actually controls our language and our ability to communicate. I mean, that's really what.
But to me, to me, the PC culture made comedians great, because they'd be anti-politically correct. It'd be super hilarious because they'd say the things that we all wanted to say. The woke culture scares the comedians.
Well, it's the woke culture that caused the whole thing for us to not actually look into China releasing or accidentally releasing the Wuhan virus. It's that kind of thing that skews our mentality so that we can't even entertain the truth anymore. And that is a scary weapon. And we need to be very, very alert to that tactic.
Hopefully more and more people are waking up.
I hope so too, Barry. Well, let's wrap it up here. Yep. And boy, I hope you have yourself a great weekend, Barry. And this has been a great show, man.
It really has been a lot of fun. All right.